Hello, thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Vicky from Premia TNC Taiwan. Premia TNC is a consulting firm located in Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Korea. We provide the incorporation service as well as bookkeeping, tax filing, payroll, and audit service. This is our agenda, in which you can find all the topics about Taiwan markets and regulation. Today we will only talk about topic 7 and 8, Taiwan business entity corporation and incorporation process. Taiwan business entity corporation. Now we assume that you already decided to set up a business entity in Taiwan. The next question is, what kind of business should I choose? Firstly, you need to decide whether to set up a separate legal business entity in Taiwan or not. If you want to set up a separate legal entity, you can choose limited company and limited company by shares. If not, you can choose branch or representative office. Later, we will discuss what the difference is. This is a comprehensive table to compare four Taiwan business entities: limited company, branch, limited company by shares, and representative office. Usually, small and medium-sized investors would choose limited company and branch because they are easy to set up for business in Taiwan. Let's work through the requirements one by one. Minimum capital. Technically, there is no regulation about the minimum capital, which means you can set up a company with $1 However, we will not suggest you really register a company with $1 for capital, because there is another rule mentioned that the capital should be able to cover the initial operating costs. Therefore, we usually suggest a suitable capital amount like 200,000 Taiwan dollars. It's around 7,000 US dollar as the initial capital for your Taiwan company. For representative office, there is no need for capital. Business scope. You need to decide the business activity before you start the incorporation process. If you want to do certain specific business such as travel agency, construction, or logistic company, you will need to apply for special license before start to run your business in Taiwan. Representative office is a different case. A representative office cannot do the sales activities, which means cannot generate any revenue. Based on our experience, some investors still choose the representative office because they will only do some business activity, such as market research or sign contracts on behalf of the headquarters. Actually, the business scope is really important and you need to decide in the very beginning because different industry will be subject to different local regulations. For example, if you want to sell a drug or medical company, you will need to hire a full-time licensed pharmacy and join the local drug association. Different industry may subject to different regulation. Before you start the incorporation, we can discuss with you about the business scope and provide suggestion. Next, the minimum requirement is about the management members. For limited company, at least one individual or entity shareholder, at least one director. The shareholder can be director. For branch, one representative is required. For limited company by shares, at least one individual or entity shareholder, at least one director. If there are two or more shareholders, one supervisor will be required. For representative office, only one representative is required. You may also wonder whether the representative or director need to stay in Taiwan. The answer is no. No need to stay in Taiwan. About limited liability. The shareholders of limited company and limited company by shares are only responsible for the capital amount they invested. But for a branch and representative office, the representative and headquarters are responsible for the whole obligation of Taiwan entity. Next one is about the audit requirement. There are two kinds of audit in Taiwan: official audit and tax audit. Usually, a small and medium-sized Taiwan entity do not require audit until its capital, sales, or number of employees meet certain level. The corporate income tax rate in Taiwan is a fixed rate of 20% for all Taiwan entities. About the business tax, Taiwan is using the VAT system, and the VAT rate is 5% in general. For a representative office, because it doesn't have any sales, so not subject to VAT or income tax. Next one is about the withholding tax for dividend and profit distribution. If your Taiwan entity earns profit, the dividend paid to shareholders will be subject to 21% withholding tax. For limited company and limited company by shares, it is a fixed rate. And for branch and representative office, there is no withholding tax. Here, we choose the most common business type, limited company and branch, as the example so you can see the difference more clear. Registration form. A limited company is a legal entity separate from its investor, and a branch is an extension and not separate from its headquarters. About the company name. A limited company must include the word limited company in the end of company name. And for a branch, it must include the word Taiwan branch in the end of branch name. The management member we already discussed before. A foreigner can be the shareholder and director and no need to stay in Taiwan. Time frame. It will normally take 3 months to set up an entity in Taiwan. It's because a new bank account will be opened and the capital need to be transferred from investors' overseas bank account. The time frame here is just for general cases, and for cases if special license is required. The time usually will be longer depends on the additional documents to be prepared. About the investor liability. Limited company shareholder is liable for the capital amount they invested, but a branch needs to bear the unlimited liability. Dividend distributed by a limited company will be subject to 21% withholding tax, and for a branch there is no withholding tax. Until now, I hope you can well understand the difference of business entity in Taiwan. And if you have any question, you can send us an email anytime after the webinar. Alright, let's move to the incorporation stage. Here I will introduce the procedure and details of each incorporation stage, and we'll also cover the bank account opening later. This is the incorporation process for Taiwan company and branch. The first step is to reserve the company name. The company name must be in Chinese. English name is optional, and we suggest you register the English name as well for future international transaction. The second step is to apply for investment approval. You need to submit the required documents, such as shareholder information, business plan. Once got the approval, then we can open the bank account. Please note that there will be 2 times for bank account opening. The first one is to open a proprietary bank account. It's just a temporary bank account for capital injection. The second one is to open the official bank account, and which is the last step for incorporation. Most Taiwan banks require the bank company's representative to visit the bank in person. Only few banks accept a local agent with a power of attorney to open a bank account. We will discuss later. After the bank account opened, you need to transfer the capital from your foreign bank account. The funds should be transferred in foreign currency, like USD. Once the Taiwan bank receives the fund, it will be exchanged to Taiwan dollars based on the current exchange rate. Because the exchange rate is changing from time to time, we usually suggest to transfer a little bit more. The extra portion will be returned to your overseas bank account. This is to ensure the bank will receive the exact capital amount in Taiwan dollar. The capital extraction will be required to be audited by a local CPA. After the capital is settled, the next step is to file for business registration and tax registration. You will receive an incorporation approval letter and a company registration form. The last step is go to the bank again to open the official bank account. Okay, let's move to the time frame and document section. The first step, name reservation. It will take 2 working days. The required documents include proposed Chinese name, director's copy of passport, and proposed business good. The reservation will be valid for 6 months. The second step, apply for investment approval. It will take 21 to 28 working days. Please note that a legalized power of attorney will be required. If you do a legalization in your country or in Taiwan, you can do both. The original copy will be required for submission. There is also one thing to be aware. Due to the political issue, China and Hong Kong investors will be subject to more documentation and the time frame will be much longer. So you should firstly check shareholders' nationality before the submission. Proprietary bank account opening. The time frame will be dependent on which bank you choose. For example, if you choose a local government-owned bank, it will just take 2 hours for bank account opening. But if you choose a foreign-owned bank account like Citi or HSBC, it will take probably 2 to 4 weeks. Step 4 is capital injection and audit. It will take 14 to 21 working days. As discussed before, capital must be transferred from your foreign bank account and in foreign currency. The inward remittance and the currency exchange memo will be required for capital audit by local CPA. Step 5 is to file a company registration. The government fee is calculated based on the a capital amount which is 1 Taiwan dollar for every 4,000 capital amounts. The higher capital amount will result in the higher government fee. The registration process will take 10 to 15 working days. About the required documents, rental agreement and house tax receipt will need to be submitted to registration office. After approval by the registration office, you will get a company registration number, which means your Taiwan company has been officially set up and can start to do business in Taiwan. The tax registration will be take around 10 working days. In the past, the representative need to go to the tax office for a tax interview. The tax officer will ask few questions about the business to understand the business nature. Due to COVID-19, you can assign an agent to attend the interview with a power of attorney. The last step is to open the official bank account. The time frame depends on which bank you choose. A local bank is faster, but usually they request the representative go to the bank in person. The foreign banks accept power of attorney, but they will set a higher threshold and require much more time for KYC. The time frame is to complete the incorporation process for a limited company or branch will be around 3 months in total if everything goes smoothly. The incorporation process for representative office is quite simple. Only need to do the business registration and tax registration. The requirement documents are similar and with limited company, and the total time frame is around 3 weeks. It's much more faster than a limited company and a branch because there is no bank account opening involved, so save a lot of time. Please note that a representative office can also open a bank account in Taiwan after the incorporation process is done. The representative will need to visit the bank in person. This part is about the bank account opening in Taiwan. Actually, the bank account opening is really important for your Taiwan entity. Based on the local regulation, you must open a local bank account in Taiwan for capital injection. So the first thing is to find a local bank, either by yourself or agent. Nowadays, to open a bank account is not easy because Taiwan government announced the new anti-money laundering laws and require all the banks to enhance their internal control and KYC process. Banks start to translate strategy and set a higher standard for new clients. In the past, you can freely choose any bank to open bank accounts, and all banks welcome new clients. But now they might say no, even you have good reputation. Okay, the first one, local agent. For the bank account opening, we strongly suggest you find a local agent or staff to handle, because most Taiwan bankers do not speak English. Some bankers even don't have the experience to handle the capital extraction. Miscommunication will be very likely to happen and delay your incorporation. Secondly, most banks request the representative to visit the bank in person to open a bank account. The representative will need to go to the bank 2 times during the incorporation process and in different stages. Due to COVID-19, most foreigners now don't want to and cannot fly to Taiwan. Therefore, you may need to consider those banks accept power of attorney, or you can find a Taiwanese to be the representative. Based on our experience, some larger-sized foreign banks like Citi, uh, Standard Charters, they accept power of attorney, so the representative no need to come to Taiwan. So if you have a bank account in those banks, you can try to connect your relationship manager in your country and ask them to contact their Taiwan branch support in the bank account opening. Requirements. Different banks have different requirements for new clients. For example, some local government-owned banks only accept clients whose location is close to the bank. If location is not close to the bank, they will refuse and ask you to go to the bank near your office. For foreign banks like Citi or HSBC, they usually set a high threshold for new clients, such as minimum amounts, accounts balance, high transaction value, or request to buy their financial products. The requirements are changed from time to time. About the business operation, you also need to consider three issues. The first is e-banking function. We usually suggest to apply for e-banking when they open the bank account, so they can do the bank transaction remotely and no need to visit the bank for payments. Second is service fee. We found that each bank's service fee is different, and for some banks, you can even negotiate the fee with the banks. You should ask the bank to provide a fee table before you open a bank account. And the third one is language support. If you will not hire local staff to handle the bank transaction, we will suggest you choose a bank with English language support, such as Citibank, HSBC, Standard Charters, or HSBC. Other local banks do not provide English service. The third part is about bank account is the global information exchange. Due to the international policy issue, Taiwan currently only signed the information exchange agreement with three countries: the United States, Japan, and Australia, which means if you are from other country, your Taiwan bank transaction will not be auto-exchanged to your government. Alright, this is the bank account transaction section, and nowadays banks are changing their policy frequently because there are more and more new regulation they need to complete with. Find a good bank for foreign investor is not an easy job. If you have any further question about bank account opening, we are happy to discuss with you in detail after the webinar. Here we also provide links for Department of Commerce and Investment Commission, so you can go to the relevant information. You can get the relevant information. One thing you need to know is that all the application form to be submitted for incorporation must be written in Chinese. Alright, this is the end of today's webinar. We also have webinar to cover in other countries such as Hong Kong, Singapore, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Korea. You can find the information in our website or directly connect with us. Thank you again and hope to see you soon. Goodbye.